Chapter 10, Super Phony, and this is from Donovan's perspective. It was still dark out when Brad tapped on my bedroom door. "I'm heading out for a run," he informed me. I rolled over and murmured something about catching all the details on CNN. Or maybe I just dreamed that part. "Any chance you'll be joining me?" He never gave up. Where was Beatrice? Asleep? It was her job to protect me from her owner before the sun came up. I tossed my pillow at her usual spot on the floor. There was a canine squeal of outrage, an octave too high to be coming from Beatrice. I sat bolt upright just in time to see Candy wriggling out from under my pillow bomb, yapping excitedly. Brad barked a sharp command for silence, which might have worked if Candy had been a Marine. The puppy upped the volume, circling the room like a mad dervish. That jarred Beatrice awake, and she added her howling to the chaos. "Listen, Brad," I pleaded. "You can yell at Beatrice and me, but lay off Candy. He's just a baby." From down the hall, a new cry joined the chorus. The other baby of our house, Tina. Brad glared at me. "Way to go, Donnie." "I haven't done anything," I defended myself. "I was sleeping." Lost my place. "Oh, do you ever listen to yourself?" Brad asked. "It's always I and me. But I know one kid in Hardcastle isn't so self-centered. He always puts others first and himself second, and is willing to risk his life to do what's right." My ears started to burn. I knew exactly where he was going with this. In the 5 days since last Saturday, the mysterious hero who saved the Mercury home had gone from uplifting human interest story to the town legend. You couldn't be anywhere in Hardcastle without overhearing that name on someone's lips. From the school halls to the checkout line at the market to Channel 4 News, it was all Super Kid all the time. Senior citizens discussed his great deed in cafes. Kindergartners played Super Kid in the park, sliding down slides, rescuing imaginary houses from imaginary disasters. Adults traded theories of who this star could be and why he was choosing to keep his identity secret. Yesterday, I actually overheard a mom telling her 2-year-old, "Eat your carrots and you'll grow up just to be like the Super Kid." It was like Batman lived in town. Better than Batman. There were people in Gotham City who didn't like him. Everybody loved Super Kid. It wasn't just Brad. Out of an entire Super Kid-obsessed community, my family turned out to be the biggest fans. Did it hurt that I couldn't reveal myself to them? Yeah, you bet it did. What made it even harder to take was that they used him against me, holding him up as a shining example of everything I wasn't. I was selfish. The Super Kid thought only of others. I was whiny. The Super Kid never complained. I was afraid of a little exercise. The Super Kid put his life on the line. Brad was constantly lecturing me. A workout routine is a commitment to physical fitness. I'm sure the Super Kid would agree with that. I knew for a fact that the Super Kid strongly disagreed with that. Honestly, I spent so much time biting my tongue that I'm amazed I didn't chew it off and choke on it. For the next hour, I struggled to get Beatrice and Candy settled while listening to Katie trying to calm Tina. Brad chimed in with updates. "All right, little girl, it's 05:30. Lights out. Hit the sack." Or, "Eyes shut. On your 6. Pacifier deployed. Diapers secure." I almost laughed at that one, but swallowed the sound because Candy had finally drifted off, sprawled out in his usual position. Seriously, the only thing missing was the chalk outline of the police department. Diapers secure. Somehow I doubted that appeared anywhere in the official Marine Corps training manual. At last, the house was quiet again, except for me. I tossed and turned while everybody else slept. I got out of bed, padded down the hall to the bathroom, and flicked on the light. Brad sat on the lid of the toilet seat, still in his jogging clothes, snoring softly, holding his slumbering daughter against his chest. I rushed to turn the light off again, but it was too late. His tank commander's eyes, trained to be alert for any sudden danger, were open and on me. He put a finger to his lips and whispered, "Just got her back down." I nodded, thinking of Candy. Baby humans and puppies weren't much different in that way. Once awake, they were ready for action. Brad shot me a piercing gaze that made me grateful for Tina's presence. Without her, I'd be getting chewed out again. But no, his expression wasn't angry. He seemed stressed and even sad. "Everything okay, Brad?" I asked in a low voice. He replied, "I'm not good at this." It was the last thing I expected to hear. Going by Brad, Marines were good at everything. It was part of what made them Marines. "What are you talking about? You got her back to sleep, didn't you?" "Because she cried herself into exhaustion." "Outstanding." I shrugged. "Hey, whatever gets the job done." He heaved a sigh. "When I'm deployed, I always know exactly what to do. In a potentially hostile situation, there are rules of engagement. If the tank breaks down, I'm ready for it. If the latrine backs up, there's a plan for that too. But here, with my own family, I'm lost." "I guess the real world isn't much like the military?" I offered. "The real world isn't military enough," he complained. "When you can take out a moving target 3,500 meters away, do you know how it feels to look at your own daughter and not have the faintest idea what to do with her?" I was blown away. Brad came across as the most confident, capable master of the universe you could ever meet. But here he was, almost human, just like the rest of us. "Well, you could try baby talk," I suggested. "You know, goo goo gaga, stuff like that. It works for Katie." He looked disapprovingly. "Verbal commands should be simple and concise and convey exactly what you want to communicate in as few words as possible." "Ah, but you're not communicating," I reminded him. "You're chilling, baby style." He actually seemed to consider my advice. There was a first time for everything. When I got to school later that morning, there was a bottleneck of kids at the main entrance. That was unusual. Unlike the academy, the students at Hardcastle Middle weren't generally so eager to get educated that they'd line up for the privilege. When I got close to the front, I could see what was going on, and it turned my blood to ice. There at the door stood 3 adults: Principal Verlander, Dr. Schultz, and Mr. Kaminsky, the driver of the tanker truck. They were looking into the faces of everybody as they entered the building. The purpose was clear: to give the one person who'd seen the super kid a chance to recognize him again. My first impulse was to slip out of line and take off down the street. But if anybody saw me do it, I'd be putting extra suspicion on myself, and then I'd get caught for sure. No, I had to brazen it through. Walk right past the guy, head held high, and pray that he hadn't gotten a good look at me on Saturday. As we shuffled forward, a familiar gnawing spread outward from my stomach into my entire body was vibrating with it. I'd spent so much of my life cowering in terror because I'd done something awful. Now I'd finally done something good, great even, and here I was, still cowering. Chloe would have called that irony. She got straight A's in English. And then the driver's eyes were on me. My breath caught in my throat. My heart skipped a couple of beats, and then the eyes shifted to the kid behind me. 0 recognition. Hooray! I practically collapsed into the school, bowled over with relief. I'd made it. My relief lasted less than the distance to my locker. A sharp burst of laughter made me jump. "Dude, you look terrible," Nussbaum exclaimed. "What is it, zombie day?" "That would explain the mystery meat in my sausage biscuit from the cafeteria," Sanderson added. "I'm thrilled my sleep deprivation is giving you so much enjoyment," I said sarcastically. "There's a newborn baby at my house. It isn't all Pampers and Peekaboo, you know. That kid's got a set of lungs like an air raid siren." I told them about my morning. Brad waking me waking Candy, Candy waking Beatrice, and the 2 of them waking Tina. They had a nice long laugh at my expense. Having friends was one thing. No wonder Noah was so gung-ho about it. Having friends was a wonderful thing. No wonder Noah was so gung-ho about it. And speaking of Noah, have you guys seen Noah today? Sanderson shook his head. I think he might be absent. I doubt it, I said. He loves regular school so much he doesn't want to miss a second of it. He's usually the first one here and the last one to go home. That was another reason Noah was totally unique in the history of Hardcastle Middle. Maybe his perfect attendance record is spoiling his shot at remedial classes? Nussbaum suggested. Maybe. If you see him, let him know I'm looking for him. They gave me a hard time about that, too, but it didn't matter because Noah really was absent. The other big news was that Mr. Kaminsky didn't recognize anyone else as the super kid. That came as no surprise to me, so there was no wild celebration in the building. Not unless you count Megan Mercury's reaction when she realized Noah wouldn't be at cheerleading practice. When I got home, the door was locked, and I had to pound on it for close to 5 minutes before anyone let me in. Oh, I'm sorry, Donnie, Mom tossed over her shoulder as she dashed into the living room. We're all watching TV. What's on? I asked. Breaking news. They found the super kid. So help me. I actually turned around in the foyer, half expecting to see the news crew with the TV cameras pointed at me. So when you say they found him, I ventured casually, you mean they know who he is and they're getting ready to announce the name? Get in here, Donnie. Mom was practically giddy. You don't want to miss this. I sure didn't. I rushed into the living room. Brad, Katie, Mom were all on the edge of their seats, staring with bated breath at the screen which showed the empty briefing room at Hardcastle City Hall. Even Tina, in Katie's arms, seemed riveted on the TV, although nothing was going on. Ditto Beatrice, who seemed to pick up on the supercharged expectation that something huge was about to happen. Only Candy was immune. According to Mom, the puppy was inconsolable every minute I was at school, like he thought I was gone for good or something. Overjoyed at my return, he made his usual bull run at me, tripping over his huge feet and rolling into a skull-rattling collision with my ankle. He finally came to a stop with all 4 legs clamped around my jeans. I shook him off before he could make a liquid deposit in my shoe. Everyone was frozen in anticipation, nobody more than me, so the driver had recognized me after all. Why didn't they just talk to me on the spot? Why ignore me then and wait 7 hours to announce my name on TV in front of the whole town? Was this supposed to be a happy surprise for me? A reward for my heroics? My dad burst in the front door and hustled past me into the living room. What's going on? Did it happen yet? He almost never came home from work in the middle of the day. Mom pointed to the screen. Here comes the mayor. I can't remember the last time I was this excited. Mayor De Silva was beaming as he assumed the podium. I know I speak for every citizen of Hardcastle when I say that we've all walked a little taller and felt a little pride since learning about the impressive young hero in our community. At long last, this remarkable teenager has stepped forward to receive our appreciation and gratitude. Super Kid, come on out here and receive the applause of a grateful city. Wait, the kid was there? How is that possible? I was here. My relief was dwarfed by my bewilderment. This hero was a phony. Why would some random guy come forward to try and take credit for what I did? What was his angle? Obviously, he was looking for fame and glory and maybe some reward money, but wasn't that risky knowing the real Super Kid was out there somewhere? I mean, I couldn't come forward, but he didn't know that. He could go from hero to goat in the blink of an eye. Plus, he could get in serious trouble if he accepted a cash reward. You'd have to be really stupid to take a gamble like that. The imposter appeared in a doorway and took his place on stage beside the mayor. There he stood, basking in the cheers and the camera flashes. I nearly dropped dead right in my own living room. Hey, Donnie, Dad piped up. Isn't that your little friend from the genius school? I couldn't answer. Noah Euclid. Mom fixed me with an accusing stare. Why didn't you say anything? This is news to me, I managed to stammer. Noah? What was he trying to pull? Did he think people would just take his word for it that he'd leaped into a moving truck? He couldn't run! Not without kicking himself in the butt with his flailing heels. Man, he couldn't cross a schoolyard hopscotch court without tripping over the number 5. Anyone who'd seen his cheerleading routines would know that. Why would he expect anyone to believe him? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a silver necklace on a broken chain. The TV camera zoomed in on it. It looked kind of familiar, but I couldn't quite place where I'd seen it before. "Where did you get that, son?" asked Mayor De Silva. Noah looked nervous, and he shifted his praying mantis posture. "This is the St. Christopher medal that was hanging from the visor of the propane tanker," he explained, a little stiffly. "It snapped off in my hand when I jumped in through the window and grabbed for the steering wheel." Oh no. I'd totally forgotten about the St. Christopher medal. Why, oh why, did I let him keep it? He said he just wanted it for a souvenir. How was I supposed to know he'd use it as Exhibit A to prove he was something he wasn't? Why was he doing this? So he could be a celebrity? He was already a celebrity at the academy. He could have been a titan just by doing his homework and not working against his own natural abilities. Noah went on to describe the events of last Saturday morning. He knew every detail because he'd been there, watching me. And of course, he added all this extra science info, like the density of liquid propane, the acceleration of the truck down the driveway pitched at 27 degrees, and blah, blah, blah. He sounded nerdy, but also authoritative. Then the mayor took over again and said that in addition to being this great hero, Noah was also the owner of the highest IQ in the history of Hardcastle. My brother-in-law shook his head in disbelief. "I knew he was smart, but I never dreamed he had the guts like that. You could learn a thing or two from him, Donnie." "I learn new things from him every day," I said through clenched teeth. "See, Tina," Katie cooed to the baby in her arms. "That's your Uncle Noah. He's a hero." Tina gurgled and spit up a little. I racked my brain but couldn't remember my sister telling her daughter anything good about her Uncle Donovan. "Next time he comes over," Noah decided, "I'll talk to him about a career in the Marine Corps." Oh, perfect. Noah, whose lack of physical control sent one of his fellow cheerleaders to the emergency room, would be great behind the controls of an M1 tank. The press conference ended in tremendous applause, a lot of it in my own living room. I had to admit that it bugged me. Not just that Noah was taking credit for something I did. After all, it wasn't as if I could take credit for it myself. But how could my family be so quick to believe all this? They knew Noah. Worse, it was like they were comparing him to me. It went without saying that I wasn't as smart as Noah. But now I wasn't as bold, gutsy, or decisive either. Ditto noble, gallant, and self-sacrificing. And his ability to make things happen? Well, I couldn't even come close. Katie said, "I can't believe I never saw that in Noah before. He always seemed so..." And here she searched for the right word. "Dweeby," I suggested, annoyed. I had others. Lying, double-crossing, shifty, backstabbing. "Cerebral," she concluded. "Inner strength, that's what it is," Brad chimed in. "A hidden reservoir he can tap when things are really desperate." Mom said, "Oh, such a wonderful boy. What's wrong with you, Donnie? How come it's been so long since he's been over?" "Noah's pretty busy these days," I explained. "He's joined the cheerleading squad." "Seriously?" Brad echoed, struggling to fit cheerleading into the role he pictured for Noah in his beloved Marine Corps. Pom-poms clashed with dress blues. "Relax," I soothed him. "Noah might be the worst cheerleader in the history of the world. He won't be shaking his booty for the Dallas Cowboys anytime soon." "I'm sure Noah is just fine," Mom said pointedly. She turned to my sister. "Katie, you were a cheerleader in high school. I bet you could give Noah some pointers." Katie nodded enthusiastically. I used to really bring it back then. "If you can teach that guy how to cheerlead," I told her, "then we won't have one super kid, we'll have two." That's unkind, my mother clucked disapprovingly. Set it up, Donnie. It will be nice for all of us to express to Noah how we appreciate what he's done for the town. And it'll give Tina a chance to spend some time with her favorite uncle, Katie added. I took that personally. My father shook his head. Could it be? Someone finally coming to my defense? He announced, I just can't believe that this super kid would be friends with a guy like you. I called Noah all afternoon and well into the night. Again and again his voicemail came up. I'm unable to take your call for any one of the hundreds of thousands of possible reasons predicted by chaos theory, so leave a message at the beep. It's Donovan, I snapped after the tone. Call me. He never did. I gave up on the phone and went over to the eucalypt's place. The place was jumping. When I got there, Noah was taking a call from our state senator. I actually had to wait behind the owner of Hardcastle Lanes. He'd been there for an hour, he said, waiting to have his picture taken, handing Noah a giant coupon awarding the entire Eucalyptus family free bowling for life. According to Noah's dad, it had been going on all day. Local business people lining up for a photo op, shaking hands with the super kid. Eventually, I snuck in the back door and cornered Noah when he was on his way to the bathroom. He seemed genuinely thrilled to see me. Hi, Donovan. Guess what? I don't have to guess what, I hissed. I know what. The whole town knows. What I don't know is why you would do such a thing. He seemed mystified. I did it for you. For me? How do you figure that? You were so scared that someone might figure out it was you, he explained. Logic dictates that no one will look for the super kid if the super kid has already been found, and now you're safe. I was honestly and truly speechless. I've heard a lot of brilliance from Noah and a lot of stupidity, too. This seemed to be both at the same time. You're welcome, he added sincerely. Yeah, great. Thanks, I stammered. It's just that, well, what if nobody believes you? No sooner were the words out of my mouth than I realized what an idiotic question that was. Everyone believed him already. How else could you explain the lineup downstairs, the press conference with the mayor, and the love fest in my living room? Why wouldn't they believe me? He asked. Where would you even start? From the vaulting horse he had to be thrown over to his performance as a cheerleader, there was no bigger klutz than Noah. And klutzes couldn't dive in through the windows of moving trucks. Didn't he think that sooner or later someone would connect the dots? Then again, this was the guy who believed you could learn to be a wrestler from YouTube, so maybe I had my answer. He went on. I have the driver's St. Christopher medal. I was there, so if anyone asks questions, I know exactly what happened. I fell in the pool, too, so my parents can confirm that I was wet when I came home that morning. It's foolproof. I looked him up and down, tracing the arc of his praying mantis posture. Well, that kind of depends on your definition of fool. Well, and now you don't have to worry about being caught in #'s neighborhood, he finished. It's the least I can do after all the help and support you've given me since we met. He was 1,000% serious and 1,000% convinced he was doing me a great favor. It was a ridiculous sham, but what choice did I have other than to go along with it? Noah getting found out meant me getting found out, and since the whole story was so huge now, that would put 10 times the attention on Beatrice being a dangerous animal. I was stuck with it. My only hope was to coach Noah into acting like the hero he was supposed to be. We were partners in the biggest lie since I'd pretended to be in the gifted program. Somebody once said, "The truth will set you free." Oh, that was so wrong. All it could do was sink us.